right, this is our work vehicle, our UTV, and I customized it quite a bit. So we thought, let's do a video on it because it's working out pretty well for at least building things around the property. So we got this UTV and it's probably one of our most useful assets here on the property. It's a Honda 700, we'll put the exact model number on the screen, but yeah, it's a UTV, it's a utility vehicle, but when you buy it, it doesn't really come with a lot of utilities on it or like tools or anything. So one thing that I started to realize, this was great for doing like garden projects around the property because you could just like take tools with you here and there. But at some point when we were starting to do more building projects, I ended up down there near the meadow house and then I was like, I need this one tool. So then I had to drive up all the way to this barn to grab that tool and drive all the way back. You know, and it's a short distance, like 1,000 feet, but after doing that like 10 times a day, I started to think of a different alternative to store my tools somewhere. And ideally, I have my tools with me all the time. So then I can drive somewhere and I can know for sure that I can mark something out like on the ground with spray paint. I can cut something down if I have to. I have all my basic tools with me. I always have a screwdriver with it with screws and nails. It's just all the basic tools that I use on a day-to-day basis are essentially what I wanted to have on this truck. So then I started to realize that there's not a lot of space to put those tools in. So that's when I started to modify it to what you see here. So the first modification that I made was actually this thing here in the middle. So we could take this toolbox out. You could see this a little bit more clear. So the first thing that I did was like, it would be nice to have some kind of platform here where I can just put stuff. Because when I'm going somewhere, I just want to take a couple batteries, or I want to take the recent tools that the tools that I'm going to be using. I want to take those with me. So then I found this little basket from, you know, this is an old nursery, so it has a lot of these planting trays. So I just got this tray and then I made that platform for it. So what's great about this is that it had holes in the bottom, so then any water would just go through and then it would just sit here on this platform and then I can take anything with me. And that kind of brought, that kind of made this other compartment back here where all of a sudden I could store like things like paint. So I have the marking paint with me all the time. I have oil with me for my chainsaw. I got obviously WD-40 with me here. So this is a great place, some rope here for marking things off. And then that opened up a whole bunch more compartments. So I added this on, well, I added this on later, but you could see here that we kind of sacrificed the passenger seat for tools. So over here I have more storage capabilities for things like tape, always handy to have with me. Right now, just so happen to have a nail gun in here, or staple gun, just because I was working on some of the siding recently. And we have this platform here. This is something that I recently put on because I have this toolbox here that opens up like this. And it was sitting on this passenger seat, but sometimes when I take a hard turn, it would just crash and fall down here. Then all my tools would be shaken up. But now I've built a little platform for it. And it's really just made out of just scrap pieces that I have laying around. So I have these screws in here to kind of prevent it from falling over. So this just sits here, and then I have access to all my tools here. And then I also started to realize I wanted to have a place for my chainsaw. So that's when I came up with this thing here. Well, first of all the tools in this place, I wanted to make it so that it's just easy to grab. If I need my circular saw, I could just grab it like this and it's working, and I can just put it back. I don't have to open a box or something else. So everything you see here, I need my reciprocating saw. Grab it like that, put it back like that. I need my chainsaw. There it is, still stuck. There it is, chainsaw. Doesn't have batteries on it now, but I wanted to make sure that everything was easy to reach. I need my jigsaw. Jigsaw's right here. So like everything is kind of designed in a way where it presents itself in a way where I can easily just grab it and use it. And then another thing that we have here is the way that this is built, it allows for storing things like shovels and string trimmers right here. So you can just grab this and go string trim. Or you can grab a shuffle, and it kind of is held in place by this bar right here that prevents it from falling out. So anything you can kind of clamp back here, you know, you put it back like that and it just stays in place. So that's been really helpful. Another thing that I added onto this was, you know, since this is an old nursery, I keep finding little pieces of trash everywhere, like old nursery tags. So I put a little trash box in here, a little cardboard box that if I find a piece of trash, I could just throw it in there. And, you know, I don't have to take it with me in my pocket or leave it there. Another platform I built was for the circular saw up here. That's a recent addition. So it just kind of sits here and has a slot for this so it can sit flat. And then it won't move anywhere either when I drive around with it. So then the other part of this is that everything is it's modifiable to the point where I could just take all this out. So you could also see that I have my tool here for servicing the chainsaw. If the chain gets stuck or it falls out, I can easily use that to loosen it up with. And then the way that this all comes apart, well, obviously, this comes out. I didn't want to make any permanent modifications to the UTV. I wanted to make sure that everything was kind of like detachable. So everything kind of comes out like this. And then I have this part here, this handle up to release. You can grab this out, this piece, and then that basically loosens this up so you can take this whole platform out. This all comes out, and the only attachment point I have is back here where there's a clamp just holding this in place. But if I loosen that clamp, this whole piece of wood will easily just lift out. And it's a really easy way to just quickly modify the UTV. If I need to have the passenger seat available, I can just take this out and, you know, have that available. But even with the passenger seat being taken over by tools, it's still possible to have people on here, 2 people that can just ride on the UTV. All you do is you use this step and you hold on to the UTV like this and you just drive safely, but you can easily like hop on and hop off using that method, and you could just use the same on the other side. And that kind of brings me to this, I guess, this roll cage of this UTV, which is really amazing because I've also used this quite sometimes as just a ladder. Just getting up here and standing on the back of this, you know, there's these platforms here on the back that are quite stable.
Even though it's not recommended.
It's not recommended, but you could even put a plank across here and see how high up I am in the air, like 8 feet. In the future, I want to build some kind of flat platform roof on this so I can put a ladder on top of here and reach something really high. So that's another thing that I found quite useful, to have this kind of roll cage around it without a roof, because it allowed me to like climb on it and get to all different kinds of places. So yeah, the idea is you can easily take it apart and, you know, don't make any real modifications to the UTV. Now then, over here in the back, I had these toolboxes that had these drawers in it, but it was quite frustrating because I could never fit them between here, because stacking them next to each other, they're just a little bit too wide to fit here. But then these smaller toolboxes from Milwaukee, they do fit perfectly in here. So I was always kind of frustrated that I couldn't do that, couldn't put that in here. And then the other downside was that I couldn't use the truck bed anymore. After I put my tools in here, this basically renders this useless. So what I end up doing is like, I made this bridge across the back where I can then stack 2 of these drawer units on, and then I still have space for other tools down here that again, I can easily take with me inside the house, or I could just take it out completely. And now I have a whole truck bed available for, you know, bringing soil or whatever, and I could still have my tools up here.
It's basically like your mobile tool shed.
It's a mobile tool shed for sure. And the way that this is built is it has this bar in front of it that prevents this from sliding off and falling off. It has these like extra pockets on the side that prevent it from bouncing left and right. And there's a bit of a gap behind here so that any water, if it ever gets on here, it will drain out. And these toolboxes are also designed to pull this out and lock this in place so that these drawers can open up. But driving around, they actually don't open up on their own. So that's been great. So the things that I have in here is like, I have a angle grinder in here and I have a multi-tool in here. And those are pretty similar tools as far as what they're capable of. So I like to keep those in that drawer always with me. And then in the drawer above it, I just have different grinding discs for the angle grinder, like for concrete or for decking, or multi-tool blades, or even sandpaper, different dust collection shrouds. I also keep hole saws in here because right underneath this sits, right underneath that sits this toolbox that carries all the drills. So I could just pick up a drill, and I always like to have a drill that has a Phillips head on it and one that has a star bit in it so that I can, those are my most common used screws. And then here I have all the drill bits, and I'm still trying to find a better way to organize those. But ideally, like this is all set up like this. And then on the right side of this, I have all the fasteners. So in here, whoa, yeah, so like I just mentioned, I like to have everything available so I don't constantly have to open and close toolboxes. But sometimes this happens where all of a sudden all the tools come out. But imagine this to be closed. Let's see, I could probably take this off.
The nails are.
Yeah, so this is the nail box, which is compromised right now. Here I have all the screws and some of the screw bits for it. So this is like, I'm missing 2 because I'm currently using those in the house, but it's easy to come in here. Oh, I need these screws, take these with me in the house, and I don't need the rest. Or I could take the whole box. The idea is it's all kind of loose in here. So then what this also allows is a great workbench right here. I could just cut something here or work on something, and it also still has extra space available here to bring other stuff. So I can carry buckets of water in here if I want to, or, you know, paint or other tools. The idea is that there's still, even with all the tools on here, there's still space available to bring stuff with me. So, you know, because it's never really perfectly organized all the time. It's always kind of in a messy state halfway, but this system kind of allows me to keep the organization better. Because if I need my angle grinder, I got it right here, and it's easy to put it back. It's already, the way it's stored, it's an easy pull and put it back. Over here, I have just random things like vice grips, wrenches. I got all my staple stuff here. Just other kind of like Allen wrenches here and little screwdrivers, extra tools, stuff like that. Up here is the important one, safety equipment. So in here I have dust mask, glasses, gloves for rose bushes, sunscreen, could use some of that now, and rubber gloves. And then that's the reason why I gave that its own drawer is because it's pretty easy to get building something and forget about gloves or safety glasses or a mask. Oh, I gotta go get a mask. I don't really want to, you know, grab that or put it, you know, and this makes it really easy to just find it really quickly. Oh, I need glasses. Here we go. Done. You know, I don't have to find it somewhere in a barn. And as long as I put it back and I make it easy for myself to put it back, then it works. So then on top of that, I can also stack other toolboxes. So these just come off. The way that this works is it all locks together. So now that I'm actually working on the house, like that, now that I'm working on the house, I'm using a lot of sanding equipment, and that's in here. So the way I access that is I'm using the tire as a step. Then I grab these two bars and I'm able to get up here into the toolbox. So it's like an additional storage that's high up that you wouldn't really be able to access from the ground, but you can easily access from up here. So, you know, got sanding discs in here, all kinds of grits, and usually the orbital sanders in here, but it's currently in the house. I also have sanding pads for the multi-tool. So yeah, that's how that works. You can also do that on the other side. Another thing that was important for building this is making sure that it never have anything can really stick out. Because if I drive between something or past something, this frame kind of protects me. I don't want to have a toolbox being ripped off the UTV. So all this stuff is kind of designed to stay in this plane here. But you know, there's some extra tools here that I can store over here. And another thing that was being really useful is this winch that we have on the front. So we use this quite a lot for pulling out trees. And the reason why it's hanging here is because it takes a long time to winch this whole cable up. And this way we can just easily grab it and it's already long and you can start pulling with it. And then when you're done pulling, what I often do is I just like throw it over there and then it's stored away and you don't have to like winch the whole cable up. Another thing I've done is put the remote here on the bumper, because oftentimes if you want to roll it up, you have to hold some tension on this so it doesn't roll up loose. So this way I have easy access and I don't have to go to the dashboard here to do that. So another thing I forgot to mention about this platform, it's not attached to the UTV. All of this can just lift out once you take the toolboxes off, and then you can remove the platform and be able to use it as the UTV came standard. So within a couple minutes, you can take all of these toolboxes off and use the UTV for something else, or you can build a different setup that is more accustomed to what you're building. So that's kind of how I set up this UTV. We also have some items in here that like when I took apart the siding, for example, I had all these boards that were quite long, like 10 to 12 feet, and it's hard to, you know, carry all those and bring them somewhere else. So what we have for this UTV is a little trailer, a little 4x8 trailer, and that just hooks up here on the back. And it makes the perfect setup, because now I can tow large stuff. I can tow a whole bunch of trash. I can start filling up a trailer with trash and start bringing it to the barn, or once it does fill up all the way, I can hook it behind my car and then bring it to the dump. So it's like this really universal way to, store stuff and have it interchangeable between other vehicles as well. So yeah, that's how I've improved this UTV so far. And all of this is just made out of scrap pieces of wood. And I think maybe one day I'll arrive at a place where I found the ultimate tool storage unit, and then I might make something more legitimate. But for now, this works really well. And yeah, I'm hoping that inspires someone else to potentially build something like this and share more of their ideas on how they're using their UTV.